A transaction just happened with few clicks. You bought a piece of a company. No handshake, no paperwork. To acquire a tiny piece of billion-dollar company, just a few transactions on exchange. From your phone, and now you own a company, a part of it. You want to know what happened behind the scene within a blink? We will come to that shortly. Most picture the market as a graph, a red line going down or a green line going up. But the market isn't a line, it's a huge system. A physical, efficient, and machine that works just perfectly inside those windowless buildings in New Jersey. I mean data center. But for most of human history, buying a share didn't look like this. It looked like a riot. So, what actually happens when you press that green button? And how did we go from shouting in coffee houses to trading at the speed of light? Let's rewind to 1698, London. If you wanted to invest in a spice ship heading to the East Indies, you couldn't just log in. You had to physically walk to a place called Change Alley. Specifically, you went to Jonathan's Coffee House. It wasn't a bank. It was a Starbucks with no rules. Men stood on tables, shouting prices for stocks, commodities, and debt. But there was a massive bug in this system. It was called the counterparty problem. If you bought a share from a guy named Dave, you had to trust Dave. If Dave took your gold and ran away to France, you were zeroed out. The market couldn't scale on trusting Dave. It needed a referee, a central computer before computers existed. This is why the stock exchange was born. Not to make money, but to guarantee that the stranger on the other side of the trade actually paid up. Whether it was New York in 1929 or Chicago in 1980, the engine of the economy was still just guys yelling at each other in a pit. But in the 1990s, the floor went silent. The guys were replaced by the order book. Think of the order book as a giant waiting list. On the left, everyone who wants to buy. On the right, everyone who wants to sell. When the prices match, snap, the trade executes. It doesn't care who you are. It just matches an order from Sydney with an order from New York or London. And this brings us to today. The guys in the pit are gone. Now it's algorithms fighting for position in a queue, measuring success in nanoseconds. Most people think Wall Street is in New York. It's not. It's in New Jersey. How? Because the entire US stock market basically lives inside a few massive data centers. If you are a high-frequency trader, you don't just want fast internet. You want your server to be physically closer to the exchange's server. We are talking about the speed of light. Being 100 meters closer saves you 0.3 microseconds. In the modern market, that tiny gap is the difference between a profit and a loss. So, back to your phone. When you tapped buy, your signal traveled through glass, cell towers, fiber optic cables, crossed an ocean, entered a fortress in New Jersey, fought 1,000 algorithms, and matched with a seller. Also, you could own a tiny part of some big billion-dollar company in real. But the terms I mentioned so far are much bigger than what we just discussed in this small video. Stay tuned to understand all of them deeply, to understand markets even deeper. For now, that is the machine behind the pixel on your screen, working perfectly for you within a blink of an eye. See you in next chapter. Till then, happy trading.